So this was a terrible week. She got no bounce out of the convention.
That's not true.
She's no bounce.
She got a 4-point bounce, and
No
she's
bounce.
in Georgia today campaigning.
Okay, she got no bounce,
Oh, you
Jessica.
got no bounce.
Look at the polls.
Okay.
And
I
she's
do
now
look at the
down
polls.
in all the battleground
That's not
states.
true.
Real clear. Check it out.
Okay.
Right now, in the break, I'll prove you wrong.
Okay.
Yes. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. With fewer than 70 days until the presidential election, we are releasing new Fox polls from key Sunbelt states, and it's anyone's ball game, as you can see right here. Former President Donald Trump holds a 1-point lead in North Carolina, 50-49. But Vice President Kamala Harris, is leading by 1 in Arizona, 50-49, by 2 in Nevada and Georgia, 50-48 in each of those states. All of these numbers, obviously, within the margin of error here. These surveys, we should point out, were conducted after both the Democratic National Convention and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropping out.
One of my favorite sayings is that men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. And the new polling coming from Fox News itself is a problem for Donald Trump, so much so that Jesse Waters of The Five did everything he could to try to play down the significance and the impact of the boost that Kamala Harris is getting out of the convention last week. Now, in this very short clip, you see that he's trying to say that there was no boost whatsoever. Immediately following this afternoon's episode of The Five, Fox News' Brett Baer came on and let it be known, yes, there was a boost and Kamala Harris is doing well and, quite frankly, leading Donald Trump in some key states that he otherwise would really rather not to have a very tight race in. Now, all of these numbers are within the margin of error, and so there's really no guarantee that this is going to play out this way. But as it stands right now, Kamala Harris has an overall lead over Donald Trump by 1 point. In the state of Arizona, she has a lead of 1 point, 50-49%. In Georgia, she has a 50-48%, a 2-point lead. In Nevada, she has a 2-point lead, and Donald Trump is still leading in North Carolina by only 1 point. Now, these are some key states that the Republicans have held very firmly red over the years. The state of Georgia flipped blue back in 2020 with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the ticket. So the infrastructure and the framework is already there for the state of Georgia to continue going blue. But I want to get back to this clip on Fox News because, of course, it is the job of Fox News as well as all right-wing media. Their task is really twofold. Number one, it is to keep the attention and the anger of Republicans at a fever pitch so that they can sell commercials. Secondly, it's manufacturing consent. They attempt to use their platform to convince people of a particular narrative in hope of creating that narrative, or rather in hopes of making that narrative a reality. And Jesse Waters is 100% committed to it. And the expectation of conservatives right now is two things. They don't believe that Vice President Harris did a good job at the convention. They really tried to convince themselves that she fell short and that it was abysmal. And then two, they're trying to convince themselves that somehow Robert Kennedy Jr. was such a value add. The endorsement that he got, that Donald Trump got from Robert Kennedy Jr. and now Tulsi Gabbard, was such a significant boost that it dwarfed what happened in Chicago last week. But the numbers tell a different story. This polling all came out after Robert Kennedy Jr. endorsed President Trump. And it's not necessarily a causal effect, but just a correlation that Donald Trump is doing worse after he got an endorsement from Robert Kennedy Jr. But also, it's telling us very clearly, the American people are genuinely warming up to the idea of a President Kamala Harris. And part of this, in fact, has to do with just who and what Donald Trump is and what he represents for the United States of America, what he intends to do with Project 2025, right? There are plenty of reasons here why the American people in some of these key states, these states that have traditionally gone on with Republicans. We're seeing more and more Republicans coming out endorsing Kamala Harris. Just this week, we had 200 staffers from George W. Bush to Mitt Romney. They all came out endorsing Kamala Harris because the average American who has not drunk the MAGA Kool-Aid, who are not a part of this cult of personality that is Donald Trump and Make America Great Again, most people can see Donald Trump for what he is. He is an existential threat to democracy. He has made it clear time and again that he wants to be a dictator. He has, I guess we can call them Freudian slips of sort, where he slips up and he says to voters that all he needs them to do is come out this one last time and they don't have to worry about voting after that, right? So Americans are seeing very clearly, at least those who are not in the cult, they see very clearly what Donald Trump is. As I stated earlier, it is the job of Fox News to coddle their audience. And they coddle them for two reasons. They want to make sure that they stay tuned in so that they can sell advertising, but also they're trying to create a narrative and generate a consensus, manufacture consensus. And that's a very powerful thing. They successfully have moved the dial in this country using those techniques and those methods, but they can't get around their own numbers, right? These are numbers that are reported. These are numbers that are disseminated to outlets like Real Clear Politics. This is real polling data, and they can't hide it except for the commentators who just don't care about lying to America with a straight face. You know, Jesse Waters is one of those commentators who does not mind taking a check to lie to the American people straight to their faces. And, you know, shout out to Jessica Tarlov. She is, I don't know if she considers herself a leftist or progressive, but she is the counterbalancing force or a voice on this platform. And, you know, she regularly tries to bring some sense and reason to these conversations. But to no avail when you have Jesse Waters in the middle of it. He's not to be taken seriously. His role and his impact on the entire conversation in this nation, it really should be taken seriously because it's going to add to this key narrative that we have to be careful of and mindful of. They still don't believe that Donald Trump lost in 2020. And so long as there are media outlets that are regularly feeding the Republican base, the MAGA base, a consistent set of lies that there's no way Donald Trump can lose, that he's leading in the polls when he's not. As long as they continue to do that, we're going to be dealing with a very large set of citizens who are violently angry and believe a false narrative that has been sown into their minds over and over and over again. And so while the lies on television won't change the data, the lies that Jesse Waters and Fox News and all these other outlets, right? Fox News was just the beginning. Fox News is like the grandparents to so many horrible conservative media outlets that tell nothing but relentless lies, from Fox News to OAN to Newsmax, all the way down to Twitter and X and all of those different commentators on that platform. They are sowing a consistent bed of lies where you're going to have a large portion of America that believes in their mind that Donald Trump is leading, that Donald Trump can't possibly lose. And if he loses, it's only as a result of cheating, which is literally what Donald Trump is saying himself. And so while the numbers don't change, and while the victory could very well go to Kamala Harris and in a significant fashion. I mean, if he comes out of here with North Carolina, if she comes out of here with Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona, she'll probably pick up Pennsylvania and Michigan if that's the case, and it will be a literal blowout. But you're going to have a large base of Republicans who, no matter how significant the blowout, they will say that it is cheating, and they will work themselves into a frenzy. Why? Because they have an entire media infrastructure that is convincing them that there's no way Donald Trump can lose, that he's leading in the polls, and any polls that he's not leading in, it's fake news. This is a very dangerous thread and trend. It's a very dangerous threat to democracy, and we have to be mindful of it and honestly figure out how do we navigate these waters. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this channel, Really American, where we're doing our part every day to push back against this MAGA takeover of America.